Okay. So in the working stage, as you see, just kind of a recap, that's where we get it in. So there's a lot of cohesiveness. There is less um, work from the leaders and co-leaders. There's more work from the participants. So, what other types of things are you seeing when you're looking at working stage? Probably right here in front of you. Trust is increased. Okay. Goals are clear and we're heading towards those goals in it, right? And working with each other and we're encouraging. That's where it says cohesion is high in a sense of emotional bonding in it. So we're getting to know each other, we're making connections with each other. Hopefully the whole group is connecting together, not just one or two people in it. Um, Here's a big one. Members are willing to make themselves known to one another, being vulnerable, being authentic, being genuine with each other, right? Conflict in the group is recognized and explored. So if there's conflict, so you've had a great friend, and when conflict would arise, you're like going, well, we've been friends long enough. We know how to communicate together well. Well, that's what this is. When you get in the working stage of group, it's you have learned skills on how to work together, on how to communicate well, all of those things. So in the transformation stage and initial stage, before you get to the working stage, conflict is can be higher, and it could be conflict can be something where it stifles the growth of the group. So like you could have conflict, two people, and then the whole group becomes quiet. So in the working stage, you've worked through all of those things, and when you have conflict, you're able to resolve it in a way that's mutual, things like that too. Or you come to an agreement or whatever it is, right? So you're able to have conflict without hurting the flow of the group. Okay. Focus is on the here and now. We kind of talked about those things. Okay. Um, so tasks of the working state. So characteristics of a non-working group. Um, so there's mistrust. So it's just that exact opposite of what we just talked about. Mistrust is manifested by an undercurrent of unexpressed feelings. Participants focus more on the others than themselves. Participants hold back, and conflicts are ignored or avoided. Okay, so you're not in the working stage if these things are happening. Okay, mistrust is manifested by an undercurrent of unexpressed feelings. Participants focus on others. It's kind of the same state. One, isn't it? Choices to be made during this working stage. Disclosure versus anonymity. Anonymity. That's a tough word. Authenticity versus guardedness. Spontaneity versus control. Acceptance versus rejection, and unity versus fragmentation. So you can see what you want on one side: disclosure, authenticity, spontaneity, acceptance, and unity, cohesion. You can use all of those types of words that describe the working stage versus um, the uh, the stuff that stifles a working stage. Okay. So the value of homework in groups. So group is not in itself an end, right? So what it is you're working for an hour, maybe 2 hours tops in a group, but you got to work outside the group. So you got to give them homework, right? So you want to give it specific. So think of there's a group called Grief Share, Divorce Care, those things like that. So in those, it's divided into thirds. So the first third of it is processing the week prior in anything that homework that was given to them over the week. Then you watch a video and then you process the video and then you give homework for the next week. So it's always this. stretch of you're having something in front of them at all times that they're kind of being immersed in, right? So that they're able to think about that group more than just an hour a week. You want them immersed in this, and that's the way that growth is going to happen, right? Um, so, group is a place to learn new behaviors, um, inside and outside the group. Okay. It's a place to acquire a range of skills in living, and it's a training ground for everyday life. So remember what I always say, the group is a small picture of the bigger world. Okay. So it's where we can have a safe place to try new things, to work with each other. Um, and so homework is a means for maximizing what is learned in group. Okay. So members can devise their own homework assignments. Ideally, homework is designed collaboratively between members and the leaders. So you can have something that's set, like Erica was just talking about, she's got a group and, probably have homework that's set from week to week. Or it could be something that is like what you guys were doing in your group here. Maybe you don't know what you're going to talk about that night, but you talk about something and then you give homework over that subject that you just discussed as a group, right? And then you come back and discuss it again, and then there's new topics the next week, just depending on what you want your group to look like. Okay, therapeutic factors. So remember we talked about those. So therapeutic factors are something that helps your group grow together. And it's what creates that cohesiveness, right? And there's skills. A lot of them are skills that you have or characteristics of the group that you're working towards. Self-disclosure is a skill. Being able to do it in a way that helps other members of the group. Feedback, skill, okay? Confrontation is a skill, cohesion, and so on. Hope, okay, that's a characteristic of what we want the group to be. Willingness to risk and trust, caring and acceptance, power, catharsis, the cognitive component, commitment to change, big one. Here's one thing. So think about your groups that you guys are creating, the commitment to change in that, meaning they've committed to creating change in their life. And just think of the power that that has with everybody else. And if you're in the same group and you have commitment to change by everybody, you can hold each other accountable, right? You can challenge others. You can have confrontation in a powerful way and in a safe way and in a productive way. Okay. Humor is a big one. Okay. So this is one, humor's good until it's not good. Okay. So you can have somebody. So humor could be something that you use to defuse the situation or whatever in most instances. But if humor's used to avoid or dismiss or whatever, then it's not productive, right? So you just got to know the difference between those two because some people can use humor to deflect. That's not good, you know. But you can use humor to diffuse situations as well. So guidelines for self-disclosure. We'll go through this pretty quickly. Disclosure should be related to the purpose of the group. So we don't want to disclose something about ourselves that has nothing to do with what we're talking about in the group because why? If we do that, then it it just takes us off the focus of what we're there for. Okay. It's useful to express persistent thoughts and feelings, and then the level and the nature of disclosure. So stage of group may determine what is appropriate. So if you're in the transition stage, if you're in the initial stage, in the working stage, it's appropriate to have it, and that's where it's focused on what is going on in the group. Um, and okay, so members decide what and how much to disclose, what they're safe with, and just think of like a group that you can take. Uh, just say grief share or whatever. I know I keep using that one, but say grief share. You use it, you go through it once, twice, three times. You're probably going to disclose more and more each time because you feel safer in it. But maybe not all the time. Maybe one group you feel safer than the other, just depending on the culture or the atmosphere of the group. Okay, or maybe even the leader is presenting in a way that changes the culture of the group or whatever. Okay. Self-disclosure increases in a safe group. So you're going to have more and more self-disclosure if you have that safety in that group. Giving feedback is very important, right? So giving feedback with honesty and sensitivity. Concise feedback given in a clear and straightforward manner is useful. Okay. In giving feedback, let others know how their behaviors affects you. So remember, it's a smaller picture of a bigger world. So if somebody's behavior is affecting me in a way, and I can let them know in a safe way that they take it as and it's productive, then we're in the working stage. We're working on ourselves and we're helping others work on themselves as well. Avoid giving global feedback. Okay. Catharsis is an expression of pent-up emotions. It can be healing and lead to increased cohesion. It's not appropriate for all types of groups, and after a cathartic event, it's useful to integrate cognitive and behavioral work. What caused it? Um, and you can work on the emotions of it as well. Insights are common, and it's crucial to put insights into action. So what are we going to take from what we learned? How are we going to put it into our lives? How are we going to use it out into the world? We learned it in a safe place. We were able to experience in a safe place. How are we going to use that in an unsafe place? Most likely. I don't say the world's unsafe, but you know what I'm talking about. In a place that's not as safe as your group, should say. Okay, so co-leader issues during the working stage. So between group discussions, this is the important part. So co-leaders and leaders should discuss reactions to group members. Think of ways of involving the various members in transactions with one another. So how do we as leaders talk about each member of the group, process through that, and then come up with a plan that's going to maybe draw out of people. So maybe people are in there and they're not participating as much. How are we going to help them participate more? How are we going to lead in a way? And so maybe you have a group, you had one group one year, and then you have a group the next year, and it's two totally different cultures or personality types or whatever. So how are we going to lead differently in that? So that's where we have to have those discussions every week, either afterwards, before, whatever it is. Okay. Explore ways of helping participants understand their behavior in the group and resolve some of their conflicts. Engage in an ongoing evaluation of the group and of your performance as a co-leader. So if you're the co-leader, keep asking on a regular basis, how am I doing? Not to the participants so much, but the other leader, right? You can ask the participants, as I would assume, but at the end of the group, you want to give them a survey, and on that survey, you want it to say, how did I do? What can I do better? What can the group do better? What can I provide? And so on, right? And so these people are going to give you some good ideas after it's over, you know? So discuss issues related to theoretical orientations and styles, techniques, self-disclosure. Yeah, you want to discuss with one another How can I do better? What are my strengths? What am I doing well? Where can I improve? All of those things. So member functions during the working stage bring into group sessions issues they are willing to discuss, offer feedback and remain open to feedback. Very important. Could you imagine having somebody in your group that's always giving everybody else feedback and they're not open to receiving? How well would that go over? Okay. Practice new skills and behaviors in daily life. Small world into the big world. Okay. Be willing to take risks. So, what's the group got to be like for them to be able to take risks? Safe, secure, people are authentic, genuine. The therapeutic alliance between the leader and the co-leader is really well. They do a good job. Continually assess their satisfaction with the group. They're always continuing. So really, what does that mean? Let's look at that. Continually to assess their satisfaction. To me, that means how am I growing? How am I getting better? Am I getting what I need out of this? That's the assessment they're going to do. Is this time valuable? Am I getting everything I need to grow in some way or overcome something? Like in Erica's group, we were just talking about. How am I going to help the parents of children with disabilities? Right? How am I going to help them uh, have a satisfactory time in this group? Right? Meaning, how are we going to help them to grow and so on? Continue to model appropriate behavior. That's so important. I had a meeting today, a counseling session, and so it just got to the point where this person that was sitting in front of me needed to grow in their confidence. So I, have been listening and all that stuff too. So today I immediately exuded confidence in front of them. This is this, this is this, this is this, right? So and meaning um decisive, things like that too. Being decisive is going to help somebody's confidence, right? So I was saying, here's what we got to do, and it can come up with a plan and all of these things. So being decisive, and so just watching their reactions to that person, right? You're modeling that confidence, right, and what it should look like. Okay. Interpret the meaning of behavior patterns at appropriate times to help members engage in deeper self-exploration inside and outside a group. We want them to absolutely explore everything in the group, but we also want them to be able to do that outside the group. Okay. Explore common themes that provide some universality. So, what themes keep popping up in their lives, right? So, Erica, think about your group. So somebody who's a parent of a child that's in your group, what are some themes that are going to come up most likely? Frustration.
Frustration, disappointment, um, tiredness, or the feeling of being overwhelmed,
Yeah.
shame.
Yeah. And what are we
There
going
are
to do
many.
with, yeah. And what are we going to do with those? We're going to say, yes, that's normal. That is normal. So we're going to model to them normalcy, right? That, yes, you're going to experience these things. You're going to be tired. You're going to be frustrated. That's okay. It's okay to feel that. It's okay to seek help. All of those things during that time. You are strong. You've got this type of thing. Um, and it's okay to feel frustrated at times. That's not a sign of weakness. That's a sign of being normal and tired and all of those things. So That, exploring those themes one from another. So if those themes are popping up, that means that most of those parents are experiencing those same things. And how did they get through those? The ones that have been through it. Okay. Focus on the importance of translating insight into action. So that's the thing. That's where we put together a plan, right, for them. Insight. Okay, I've got all of these things that are going on inside me, and I've got all these ideas, and I'm processing through that. But how do I put my plan into action? So that's, as a good counselor, you're going to help them um, do the next steps. Okay. That's in, the thing of change, process of change, pre-contemplation, contemplation, right? Planning, and then the action stage, right? So we've planned it all out, and now here's where the rubber meets the road. Promote behaviors that will increase the level of cohesion. How do we, Erica, in yours, that's one of the most important things in your group that you're creating is cohesion with each other, and that comes through those themes, yes, I'm tired, I'm frustrated, I'm all these things. Yes, me too, me too, me too, right? And they're getting all of those. So how do we increase the cohesion with them? Well, it's maybe you do things like um, you have it where each other provides meals to each other, or they go and let the parent walk around the block or go to the park or something and you watch the children, whatever it is. So there's many ways of building cohesion inside the group and also outside the group. Oh, well, here, we're not going to watch this, but this is a group in action. We may if we go, but we have had chapter 9 we got to go through. Um, yeah. Let's do chapter 9 first and see where we get. Okay. Can you guys see chapter 9? No?
No.
Well, let's do that. How about that? Chapter 9? Okay.
Yep.
Final stage. How's that feel? All right. I see Maddie's big smile there. Feels good. Final. Always a good word. Unless it's a final for your class, then something that could bring anxiety or something, right? Okay. So what kind of experiences have you ended in your life? What kind of experiences have you ended? Okay. So I'm going to open this up just for a second. Think about some things that were final in your life. And it could be school, maybe high school. Remember back high school or something? It could be um, a group that you were in church that ended. And think about something that you've ended in your life and what was the experience like? Could be like, I am so happy about this. I don't have to do this anymore. Or it could be, I am going to miss these people, right?
I remember like a month and a half ago. Well, I guess it'd be like, yeah, like the end of December when I was coming back from Christmas break. Um, my grandma was in the hospital and it was like pretty aware that she would not be leaving the hospital.
Mm.
And so I went and saw her one last time and like I knew fully that it would be the last time I saw her. And then it was like 3 weeks later, 4 weeks later, when she passed, it was like, okay, like I'm really glad with my last experience, knowing that that was the last experience as well.
Yes, yeah, yeah. Um, Bittersweet.
Bittersweet, but it was like when I got the news, I already had my closure,
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
you
Absolutely.
know? And
Yeah.
it was funny, even like I told my mom how I joked with her the last thing I said, hey, I'll see you later. Even though like, she didn't know, but like I knew in my heart that that would be the last time I saw her kind of deal.
Good. But the beauty of it is you will see her later.
Well, yeah.
So yeah, no, yeah, thank you for that. Absolutely. But yeah, and you had that opportunity and you took it. It's good. Thank you. Anybody else have a experience?
I had a business in Brazil and I had a partner
Mm.
for 15 years.
Hmm.
Um, and then I knew that I had to end it, the partnership, not because of our relationship was great, amazing, but
Right.
because I I had to have more time for Tomas. I had the diagnosis. He was 3 at a time, and I needed to, to be more present.
Yeah,
And I couldn't because my business was taking me the whole time. So I prayed a lot, and I knew that God was telling me to do that.
sure.
So I talked to her, saying that, and she was a believer. That was a good thing. She was
Yeah.
not super happy, of course, because um, it would be harder for her to keep the business going, without a partner. But she
Mhm.
understood.
Yeah.
I think I was probably more in peace than she was because God had spoken to me
Yeah.
so deeply. And of course, I knew my reality. I knew that I had to have more time for my family.
Yeah.
But she understood, and we still had a really good relationship after that. And we had employees, and just, like I said, bittersweet because I liked them and I liked the work that we had and what we built together. But I I knew that I had to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. That type of closure is hard too, when especially when you have somebody that's semi-dependent upon you to hold
Mhm.
your end or whatever, and you have circumstances that come up that trump those, the importance of the business. Yeah. Anybody else? Thank you, Erica. Um, how about this? We already kind of went to how did the endings go? The next question is, are you a good ender? Are you a good ender for yourself? Are you a good ender for them? Right? Here's me. I get done and I'm like, out. What's next? Right? That's the way I am.
I feel like, especially in the last like 2 years, I've had a lot of relationships come to the end,
Mm.
and I've known, I would say like actually like last 3, 4 years, time flies, and I forget like 2 years ago was not that long actually. Um, yeah, I would say a lot. I've had a lot of relationships end, but I've known that they were gonna end, and so like I had decent awareness to like, okay, this is gonna end, and I want this to end in a certain way, or like both like ones that needed to end or ones that were naturally going to end. So like I've had friends who got married and moved away, or I've left, Massachusetts like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of people there I would never see again, or college from, my first college and et cetera, where it's like, okay, a lot of times where it's like, I know this is going to end and I want to have this be like, this is going to be an ending to it. And they're not always perfect, but those ones are the easy ones to end for me. But then it's obviously harder when there's a relationship that has damage involved,
Mm.
whether on both parties or on one. So it's like you need to end it because they are unhealthy or something. And then that's hard because obviously then it's like, that's obviously involves confrontation, but it's also just as messy if there's like on both ends, because then you both have to confront and acknowledge your own stuff.
Yeah.
That's a whole other thing. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like in a way I've gotten decent at it because I've had to have a lot of experience with it recently.
Okay. Yeah. So when you've had that experience, what I think it's like, what do you give to others during this time? And what
Hmm.
are you taking away with you as well?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Especially if it's like a bad ending, like how can you redeem it as much as possible?
Ooh, yeah, that's good. There's some, yeah, maybe you just can't,
Hmm.
and you just got to make that decision to go on, right? Mhm. And that could be, in a, you know, uh, relationship with dating or whatever, right? Okay, good. Anybody else? Okay, think about your groups. What do you want to provide the last day? What do you want to provide for your group members as an ending? Think about that when you write your papers too. Think about how you want it to end, what you want them to leave with. Include that, right, in your paper. What do you want them to leave with? What do you want them to process through even afterwards, days, months, years afterwards, that they're going to get from it? Think about those things in your group. Okay, so the final stage of group vital members is vital. Sorry, members have an opportunity to clarify and integrate the meaning of their experiences in the group. What did I get out of this group? What, here's my thing is, do I feel satisfied with what I put into this group? Not just what I'm getting out of it, but what I'm putting into it. Okay. Consolidate the gains they have made. Decide what newly acquired behaviors and changes they are committed to bringing to their everyday lives. So if you look at the process of change, right? So you do pre-contemplation, or we've gone through all those, contemplation, planning, action. Then we get to, um, you can even add something in there like reevaluate, things like that too. But generally, in the last one is how do we maintain? And that's what this is kind of saying. Decide the newly acquired behaviors and changes they are committed to bringing to their everyday lives. How do I maintain the ones that are productive in my life? And how do I get rid of the ones that aren't? Right? Characteristics of the final stage. So could be sadness and anxiety. So when you guys are doing counseling with people, you're going to have this throughout the group. So it's funny because I tell people, it's like, well, I've got this client and they want to go every other week now. I'm like, no, you tell them no. Just just keep going. And here's my thing is like, okay, if you go every other week, then you're going to go 6 more months. Why not just go 3 more months and you're done? Right? And you're going to be more productive during those weeks. The reason why they want to go every other week is because they want to avoid this possible sadness and anxiety over it ending. Right? So process through that with the people in your group or in counseling, right? Process through endings, how things end. Okay. They may pull back and participate less because of the sadness, because of the anxiety. Members hesitant on the course of action, some fear of separation. This is another part of it, as well as continued progress in their daily life. Express fears, hopes, and concerns for one another. That's beautiful if they get to that point, right? Hopefully they've been doing it all the way through the working stage. Role playing to meet significant others in everyday life. That means, remember, small world, big world. Role play how we're going to present ourselves out in the big world and how we're going to take on things and so on. Group evaluation, really important. Discussion for follow-up for accountability. How are we going to hold each other accountable if we're not going to see each other? How do we have that accountability within ourselves? How do we hold ourselves accountable? to growth. Okay, tasks of the final stage in the differences in groups, okay? Um, First of all, an open group. What's that look like? So educate members to give adequate notice when terminating. Allow time for members to prepare emotionally. Give an opportunity to others to say goodbye because there's going to be some members who aren't completed yet, right? So you'll have some that are coming in and out and transitioning out. Explore culture influences on members' perceptions and understandings of the endings. So you have one person that's getting ready to end, but the group isn't ending because it's open, right? Think of Alcoholics Anonymous or something like that, right? But you have some people that are graduating, right? So how do they end, knowing that the group is going to continue? Tasks of the final stage of the group in the open group help members identify how they can incorporate what was meaningful in the group into their daily life. We talk about this a lot, don't we? How are we going to continue learning and having this part of our life and continue the productivity in our life? Assist the member to review what they've been learning in the group and what to do with this learning. So it could be through modeling. So we're modeling for them, working through uh, like you send them to a counselor so they can continue to process afterwards. And maybe, okay, they're done with the group, but maybe they need a month or two of processing through with a counselor, the ending of it, right? That's outside of the group. Okay. Assist the member to review what they've been learning in the group and what to do with this learning. Make referrals when appropriate. Okay. How about in a closed group? Okay. So this is this is when everybody is, finishing at the same time. Dealing with feelings of separation. Compare early and later perceptions of the group. Okay. When you came into this group, what were your perceptions and expectations? Were your expectations met? Dealing with unfinished business. What's that mean? What do you guys think? What's unfinished business mean in a group? What do you think? What's unfinished business?
And just unresolved issues and conflict that hasn't been solved, and I think just also just creating a space to be solved
Yeah.
uh, at the end. Um, so just at the end asking like, so what do you think has been bothering you guys, or you haven't been able to say but you want to, something like that.
Gosh, that's good. Yes, absolutely. Yes. Especially when you said unresolved conflict, right? Because they want to leave and they want closure. We want closure. We always want closure. It's like what Ryan was talking about with his grandmother, right? He was able to gain closure from that experience. And so he was able to leave that experience um, better than if he would not have had that, right? Perfect, Josh. That was good. Thank you. Yeah. Unfinished business. We want closure to things. And we don't want to leave things unfinished because then it creates what? Anxiety it can create so many things in our life. Okay. Yes. Um, Personal gestures in expressing the meaning of a group experience and then reviewing the group experience with them. What did it mean to you? What did you get out of it? Was it productive for you? What did it meet your expectations? If you were to do it again, what would you do differently? Um, did you guys see that pop up? So something popped up on my screen. Sorry. It was asking me if I wanted to restart my computer. I always just wonder if on Zoom if you guys can see some of the stuff that pops up on my screen. Okay, so yeah, did if you were to take this group again, what would you do differently? Things like that. Okay. Okay. Practice for behavioral change, carrying learning further. How can I keep this progress going that I've gained in this group? How can I do it outside of the group? Because what if, I don't want to feel alone in this. I don't want to feel, you don't want somebody to take a group, go with all this get all this progress in their life, and then you end the group and then they quit making that progress, right? You want to say, how can we maintain this progress? Okay. Uh, Giving and receiving feedback, use of a contract and homework, dealing with setbacks, guidelines for applying group learning to your life. So you want to have all of those things on the last portion of your group just to prepare them that the work that you just did in the group, you've just begun the work for the rest of your life. Okay. Depending what the group is. Okay. Giving and receiving feedback. This is important. Okay. So the sentence completion method can enhance the quality of feedback and can result in focused feedback. And that's what we want. We don't want just, what their opinion is. We want it focused on how me as a leader, how can I improve myself, my skills, the group, and then also the feedback. How do they continue to grow in this? So the examples of that are my greatest fear for you is if I'm giving them feedback, how can we change that? So my greatest fear for you is you will have finished this group and you will not take what you've learned and apply it to your life on a daily basis. That's my greatest fear. Or my hope for you is you will take what you learn here, apply it to your life on a daily basis, and continue to grow. Okay. And you can say other things like, I hope that you will seriously consider whatever. I see you, I see you blocking your strengths by, and this is all productive things, right? So that you're given to them. It's not criticism. It's saying, hey, this group is ending, but I still see you blocking in this way. You can also get counseling one-on-one to help process through that stuff, right? Some things I hope you will think about doing for yourself is or are counseling, so and so on. Some ways I hope you'd be different with others are X. This is what you learned how to be different with others. I'm hoping that you will maintain that and keep practicing that. Applying these lessons to everyday life, okay? Assist members in translating what was learned in the group to their lives and developing action plans geared to change. So that's one thing I'm hoping that you are including in your group that you're creating are ways of providing through each stage, ways of providing what they're learning, how to apply it in their lives, and continue to do that. And then at the end, in the final stage, that you're able to give them something like, here's how you can continue doing those things, but you've been providing it to them all along, right? So you're just kind of reminding them. Inform members that relapses may occur. Absolutely. Prepare them to cope with unexpected outcomes. So hopefully we've given them really good coping skills. We've given them processes to overcome, maybe mindfulness, things like that. And then we've given them referrals or other support systems that they can take advantage of. So those are four big things, right? Some points to share with the members are a group is a means to an end. Change is bound to be slow and subtle. Focus more on changing yourself than on changing others. Be the change. You've heard, a bunch of, you can put a lot of cliches in there. Be the change, decide what you will do with what you learned about yourself. How will I continue this change process within me? Evaluation of the group experience. So this is the important part for you to learn about how I can continue to make the group better, increase productivity. How do I even make the group better where I'm attracting more people, better people, whatever. I don't know, better is probably not the word, but meaning people that fit into the precise thing that I'm searching for. That's kind of what I was meaning. Um, how do I attract the precise person? This is where Erica, your thing kind of comes into play. How do I attract the exact people that I'm searching for because what I'm looking for in this group is that cohesiveness. And if they can bond in that way, I've attracted the right people. Okay. Evaluation is a basic aspect of any group experience. Yes, we're always evaluating. Should be evaluating after every group with your co-leader. Evaluation is an ongoing process that tracks the progress of individual members and the group as a whole. And there's one thing, like in counseling, you can give them where it says, how are we doing? And you can check that on a weekly basis. It's a progress report. And then you can, write down whatever number that they gave you on that and just keep track of that. Then it shows, okay, ooh, wow, they're on an upward trajectory. So they're moving upwards. Oh, here's a place where there's a dip. Something's going on in their life. I need to investigate that. So you can, if you do surveys like that on a weekly basis, you can uncover a lot of things that need to be uncovered, okay? Methods used including rating scales, standardized instruments, questionnaires, and follow-up interviews, or all of them. Do all of them, right? What are you going to include to make you and your group better? Co-leader issues as the group ends, okay? Agree not to bring up new issues. Woo! How is that? You're on your last night, and then you go, oh, by the way, we didn't talk about this time. And here's a new issue that you could bring up, and they're like, oh yeah, but then it's your last night. You guys aren't going to see each other again, right? So it's not the best time to bring up new issues, okay? Discuss unfinished business and remain in agreement not to bring it up after. Discuss feelings about ending the group with your co-leader. Help members review and evaluate their experience, and then critically assess the balance of responsibility and how you work together as co-leaders. That is going to be so important for you moving forward. If you have a co-leader, and hopefully it's going to be the same one every time, wouldn't that be great? That if you have that person every time, that you keep getting stronger and better, and you become like Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, for lack of better people, right? So you become those team members with each other. So you know each other so well that you've got that chemistry that each move that you have, they know what move you're already using and doing, because they know you so well. Okay. Follow-up. So build follow-up group sessions into the scheduled meetings. Members tend to be more motivated when knowing they will evaluate their progress. Think about that for a second. Members tend to be more motivated when knowing they will evaluate their progress. Yeah. If they know that they're maybe even evaluating themselves, they maybe will focus more on what they're doing. Okay. Members can share difficulties they have encountered since leaving the group. It provides an avenue to express such thoughts and feelings about their group experience. Send a brief questionnaire or contact the members via secure online live video chat program. So, you can Zoom with them. You can do that with all the members, or you can do it one-on-one. I would probably want to do it one-on-one with people. Um, I don't know, just think about it, what it looks like. If you do one-on-one, I think you're going to get some good, honest feedback. If you do it as a group, the group may, some people who don't speak as much may be able to give their opinion, and then everybody says, then they're brainstorming saying, yes, that was a great idea. And then they can give more and more information. So you may get more information that way. Or um, it may even cause, you'll know your group members better than anybody else, but it may also cause the lack of participation too, if you have group members together. Just think about it, what that looks like, what you want to gain out of it. Member functions in the ending stage. What does that look like? Okay. They deal with feelings about separation and termination. Absolutely. We'll want to do that. Hopefully your people will be doing that tonight. Prepare to generalize learning to everyday life and decide on changes they want to make and how they plan to make those. So you're helping them, you're modeling for them a way that they can evaluate what's going on in their life. How do I make change, create change, and then follow through with that, and then evaluate. See what I'm saying? So you can do that. Each member can do that for themselves. Complete unfinished business, either issues brought into the group or issues that pertain to people in the group. What does that look like, right? So unfinished business, either issues brought into the group or issues I may have with others, and so on. I want that closure, right? Some people, it may not matter to them and they don't care about closure. They just move on to the next thing. Evaluate the impact of the group and remember that change takes time, effort, and practice. So really what you're normalizing right there too as well. So read that again. Evaluate the impact of the group. How did the group impact you? What kind of changes were you able to put into place? And remember, sometimes when you're within the group, making those changes to your life is a lot easier when you're in the group than when you're outside the group, because you have encouragement. You have people who are encouraging you and helping you process and do all of these things. And that's called what? Cohesion, right? So you have that cohesion with each other. Outside of the group, after the group's over, you don't have that. You're kind of on your own in that. So that's where all these support systems that you need and want come into practice or come into play. So leader functions in the ending stage. They assist members in dealing with any feelings about the termination, any sadness, any regret, any unfinished business, any happiness. It doesn't have to always be bad. It could be really good things, right? You're processing these things and you're normalizing things, and then you're also saying to them, you're a strong person who you did this well, and you can continue in this and continue doing this well. Provide members with an opportunity to deal with unfinished business. We just said that. Work with members to develop specific contracts and homework assignments. Assist participants in developing a conceptual framework that will help them understand, integrate, consolidate, and remember what they've learned in the group. You might even give them homework after, and in that homework, it could be, here are steps to take when keeping your progress going, right? Journaling, calling, support systems, whatever it is, okay? And then you want to provide opportunities for members to give one another constructive feedback. Constructive. Keyword constructive, not negative. Constructive. Okay. Unfinished business. So during the time to say goodbye, some unfinished business may surface. The group should be given a last chance to process it and hopefully bring a sense of closure to it. That's kind of what we've just been talking about the whole night, right? We said unfinished business, process it, add closure. Most important things. If given a reminder a few sessions before the final meeting, members can be motivated to use the remaining time to complete their work. So we've got 3 sessions left, and we're going to have some closure here. What do you want to happen? What kind of closure are you expecting? What's that look like? And so on. The group may also point out areas members could focus on once they leave the group. I love that. That's constructive. A question to prompt the process prior to the last session is, here's the question. If this were the last session, so you're 3 sessions out, if this were the last session, how would you feel about what you have done up to this point? And what would you wish you had done differently? And that gives them the opportunity to do that the next 2 sessions or whatever, however many are left. Or gives them opportunity to say, okay, you're going to work on this, but then you're going to retake this session again the next time it happens, right? Okay, member functions. Deal with feelings of separation and termination. Prepare to generalize learning to everyday life. How can I apply? It's all about application after the group ends. How do I apply this? Complete unfinished business. See how that's in bold? See how important that is to complete that? Evaluate impact of the group on your life. How this group has helped me to process, to learn to process better, to make progress in my life, and so on. Make decisions about changes and plan or create a plan or so on. Okay. Leader functions after termination of a group. So you're going to re-emphasize the importance of maintaining confidentiality after the group is over. Offer private consultations, if any member should need this service. So get your appointment book out and set up some appointments for counseling, right? If they need it. Provide for a follow-up group session or follow-up individual interviews. You may, maybe Erica, you do this. You have your group and you provide quarterly check-ins. And you can do that individually, or all the group members can get back together and have quarterly check-ins, however you want to do that, monthly, quarterly, whatever it is. Identify referral sources. We've talked about that for members who may need further assistance. Yes, absolutely. Evaluate the strengths and weakness of the group. Yes. It's not the weaknesses of the group members, although that could play into part of it. It's what was the weakness of the group? Meaning, it doesn't mean that's a reflection on the group at all. It could just mean, hey, this group was weak in this area, right? If this happens again, how can we help fortify that? Or is that just something that was part of the personality or the culture of the group, right? Come to terms with that. I wish I had the music for this. Some of y'all may be too young to know what that even means.
I think I'm the youngest probably, and I know it.
Okay, good. Porky Pig.
Oh yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Okay, so we're through that. So any questions? Let's open this up here. Stop sharing here. Any questions about that? I want to know, what are your biggest takeaways of what you learned in the last however long, 7, 8 weeks, whatever, 7 weeks since we got one more.
I think that like learning about the different stages is helpful and just like thinking about it like that. I feel like before I probably would have had like maybe a similar but a little bit different like timeline expectations of like how the group's progressing and like how things are going with that. So I think it's just helpful to understand like how it typically goes and then what sorts of things can set it back or excel it forward.
I love that. Absolutely. And as you get good at running groups, you'll just notice, oh man, there's that transition. And you're like, and you'll just feel it. You'll just feel it inside that there's that transition, right? And you're always going to strive. How can I keep improving this so that I can get to the working stage that much quicker? But don't rush it, right? So there's that. It's science and what do they call it? Science and an art, right? There's science to it and there's an art to it. We don't want to rush things. And us as counselors, it's funny as everybody comes through when we're doing and they're doing their internship and they go, don't feel like I'm helping them or whatever. I'm like, oh, how many sessions have you had with them? Two. Okay. Especially with kids. Man, come talk to me after 10 sessions. If you haven't gotten anywhere with them, then we're gonna have to start talking. Okay. But you know, takes time. It takes time to build that trust and everything that we went through in this group. I want you to just think about that when you are starting these things. I mean, I've got to be authentic and genuine and all this, and everybody else has too. How do I get them there? So it's me modeling all of those characteristics with them, and so that they feel safe and secure to be able to do it themselves. Jolie, that was awesome. Thank you.
I think for me, one of the big things I've thought about is like I'm a big like perspectives person.
Yeah.
And it's helped me like realize like I've had a bit of experience being in groups and it's helped me realize like the different feelings that other people might be feeling in groups and then
Hmm.
like thus like as a leader how I can examine each person and what they might be like thinking
Hmm.
or feeling depending on like how they're reacting and performing in the group and etc.
Yeah.
Because I've also been in groups at like I've had various forms of experience and feelings about the groups I've been in. Like I've been in groups where I've like been very frustrated, and then I've been in ones where like I've been like very happy with things. And then like even like now looking back and seeing what was my issue with this group or what did I like about this group, kind of deal.
That is so good. I love that because think about all the skills that you're bringing in, and it takes different skills to run groups, even different skills than it does just to do everyday counseling, right? So I love that you just expressed the need to watch body language, and that's all part of helping skills too. When you learn how to use helping skills in the counseling room, it's about your own ways that you're doing things, your own body language that you're portraying, and then also theirs, watching theirs. I told you it's like when I work with couples. I'll ask one person a question, but I'm watching the other how when this person's answering it, I'm watching how they respond to it. And a good co-leader, Ryan, what you just said, is one that will watch everybody's body language. Like if you're the leader and you're concentrating on that person that's talking, and the co-leader is watching everybody else's body language to see, ooh, wow, I noticed, Bob, when Sally said this, that you did whatever. So you not you're calling them out, but you're just using immediacy there. and to bring up, because sometimes when somebody's feeling something and they react in some way, other people may be feeling the same thing. Good job. Yeah, that was awesome.
I thought it was just cool how the group dynamic also, like you're growing as a group, but you're also growing as a person yourself, the individuality of it too. I thought that was just cool how we learn from each other through challenges, being vulnerable, that trust and connection, leading to transformation at the end. So
I love
yeah,
it.
just the group growing as a group, but also individual growth.
Mhm.
Yeah, I thought that was
So when you're in Paradigm, right? How does that,
Mhm.
what's that look like for Paradigm?
Like my community group.
Yeah, uh-huh.
Yeah, so we try to meet once a week. So that's so part of my project was I created what I created and then we applied that to my group. So we're doing that once a week. We're going through a book and then going through these are the things we need to cover this week and talk about apply it to our lives and then
Yeah.
how are we reflecting it back to other people and just sharing experiences and building that connection and the common goal is to become more like Christ. So that's
Yeah.
the goal of the group. So
I love that. And when you say um shared experiences, right?
mhm.
So important. I love that. Thank you, Josh. That's great. Who else?
I like to see the difference. The leader's role is really different when we have individual counseling and a group. Because, like in individual counseling, you have only one person that you are focused on that person.
Yeah.
It seems to much more controlled environment for me because, like, you know what you're going to say.
Yes.
And of course, you don't know what the person will say, but it's more controlled than having a group that, as Ryan was mentioned, like you need to pay attention to what the person, or you mentioned to the person will be reacting to other person saying that. You never know who will be saying what, so it's less controlled environment, and you need to pay attention. And many people that one of the reasons that I think that having a cold leader is so important, but it seems so it's really different, and I like to see this, that you are doing a totally different you're having a different experience when you're in a group. There's so many other things playing at the same time.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, and it kind of even goes back to what Josh was saying about the shared experience that you have. So how can I um I guess quantitate it, how do I measure the experiences with one another, and so that
And
A,
in like in individual counseling, you also have to build trust, but
yes,
it's one-on-one,
yeah,
and then in a group, the person, they are building trust not only with the leader but with
yeah.
other people too.
So
So there are a lot of, yeah.
what do you, so Erica, now that you say that, what do you think's harder, group or
I think in group, I think
okay,
group is harder.
could be,
Usually people are I think people feel more comfortable when they are talking to one person,
yeah,
especially knowing that the counselor is trained to
yeah,
listen to them.
hmm,
So probably it makes them feel a little, and then you're in a group, you never know who is there and you don't know these people yet. So it will take more time, I believe, to build
yeah.
trust.
I think on that level too is, so if you have a group and you got group members in there, you're almost relying on them to help create that cohesiveness.
Yeah.
So whether one-on-one counseling, it's really up to you to do that. But the other,
Mhm.
there's so many dynamics that go on. And so you have to be just skilled
Yeah.
at being able to do that and pretty quickly, right? So watch your first groups that you
Yeah.
run. You're gonna go, man, I suck at this, creating this cohesiveness and all that stuff too. But then as you go along and you were able to do it and you feel it and all that stuff and everybody's bonding, man, there's nothing better, there's not a better feeling in the world And then you know, okay, I did these things well, I did these things well, and that's where working with your co-leader said you did this well and all that. And then I just keep replicating those and adding new skills in. So it's just beautiful. Goal is just to suck less each time. It's just- yeah. Anybody else have a thought? Maddie, what do you think? What's your big aha?
I think the like biggest takeaway from like the whole class
Yeah.
was more so from the like actual like group session, I feel like
Mhm.
um dynamic, but also how much emphasis the classwork or like lectures and stuff in the book talks about like co-leader dynamics and
Yeah.
how to set up really good co-leader dynamics.
Yeah.
Um, because when I was a co-leader through Regen,
Yeah.
my co-leader and I, we did not mesh
Oh, okay.
well at all. Um, every group felt like a fight almost, like for one direction or the other, and we would like are in between like everything, pretty much everything that we've talked about of like this is how co-leaders should work and this is how co-leaders shouldn't work. We were on the this is how co-leaders shouldn't work
Should work.
side of things. Um and I think it's been cool to see both groups did a really good job at like working together.
Yeah.
Uh, but the what's the one we're in right now? Ben and I know they both have a Ben in them. The two
Isaac.
guys,
Yeah, Ben
Ben,
and Isaac.
yeah. Um, they you can tell they had like a conversation, really clear conversation before and in between the sessions to
Yes.
kind of regroup and be like, okay, hey, this is what we've noticed and yada yada yada. And I think that would have been really helpful for me and my co-leader to engage in, but then also for future reference to make sure that like we're coming in with not even just like who's going to talk about this and who's going to talk about this, but like when, like you've mentioned, like when Ben is talking about um or asking a question, I'm going to watch the people's body language and like planning things to that degree out with with the co-leader in order to, make it feel very cohesive and like we are on the same team. And then if any confusion happens between the two of us, talking about that afterwards and resolving it that way instead of
Yes.
pressing confusions. Because I think that that really like broke a lot of cohesion in our,
Mhm.
and it was
Mhm.
even to the point where like some ladies were loyal to me and some ladies were loyal to her.
Mhm.
Um, and it just didn't meld very well.
Yeah. Think
Um,
about think about so the training you're getting in class and in school and all that stuff too, and how it would maybe to be different if you had
mhm.
this type of training and everything. I know I think they do some form of training for regen, but um, just look at all the dynamics that you're going to be looking at differently now.
Yeah. Oh no, totally. And I think that's part of it. Like as I'm going through this, I'm like, even just what the book kind of mentions as like this is how co-leader, like the specifics of how to co-lead is really interesting that they make such an emphasis on it. And I think it's because it is more challenging. Like I almost think that for me, leading a group would have been easier by myself.
Yeah. Oh,
Um,
yeah.
even
Yeah.
though it's technically supposed to be like, oh, well, you're sharing the burden if there's two of you. But it's like, yeah, but if it's me on 12, at least I know what direction my brain is going, you know? Uh,
Yeah. You bring up a great point. It's like going, if everything's going well, yes, this would be perfect. But if it's not, you would have most enjoyed it a lot more if the other person wasn't there. Yeah.
mhm.
Makes a big difference, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Thanks for bringing that up. That's very good. So the importance of having a good co-leader,
Mhm.
or I wouldn't say good co-leader, I would say the importance of having that those good dynamics of being leaders together and knowing your roles and all of those things.
Yep.
Good. Susan, do you have any? What was your big aha?
Well, actually, Jolie and Maddie both brought up what I would like to take away, the process of the stages of groups
Yeah,
and the importance of a co-leader, the dynamics with a co-leader. Both of those things I took away from this class.
good. That's awesome. Awesome. Thank you. Cindy, anything?
Well, I did like the stages of group. The thing I guess as I worked through the group I'm developing, it was kind of incorporating something from another class into it. My topic, I guess, is psychoeducational, but it's kind of heavy, like trauma stuff. And so I decided as part of my personal debriefing to include weekly progress notes
I like it.
so that I didn't become bogged down with the heaviness of the topic.
Yes, yeah. Or, yeah, I guess what I'm hearing you say is wow, I never really thought of it that way. It's like, do I need counseling for my own leading group? You know what I mean?
I mean, I think that my family and I have worked through these things. I don't think it'll be a situation, if I ever were to lead it, that it would be countertransference. But I mean, there's no way to get around when you hear about children's trauma, it's heavy.
Right. Yes, absolutely.
So that was my.
Yeah, that's good. Excellent. Thank you. Okay, so it is 7:22. We're gonna get started here. Um, come back at 7:28. Sound good? And we'll get you broken into the groups. All right. See you in just a few.